Thank you all for joining us today. So today we have a special guest, Dr. Umar Johnson Bilal Ibrahim, and he's going to be joining us talking about cloning and genetic implications. So thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Umar.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
If you want to come this way a little bit,
Oh, yeah.
as they get you on the frame.
Mhm.
So you are a genetic expert, right?
Yeah.
And so today we just wanted to talk about implications because technology is really evolving very rapidly, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So maybe you could share our expertise. You know what I'm saying? Just educate us, right? So our first question would be like, what is it? What is cloning?
Cloning is pretty much, it's not what you see in the movies. No test tubes, no big things. Pretty much you just get a surrogate mother and put the cell inside of her, and it just builds up inside her uterus, and boom, baby pops out 9 months later. It's just like that. Okay? But the thing is, we tweak that cell that we put in there, and we change it a little bit. So that's pretty much it. There's no, weird, like cloning tubes and all that. We just surrogate mother. So yeah, same exact way of birth, different way of putting the kid in there.
So what are the advantages of that?
So down the line, we could see that we could get rid of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, ALS, pretty much every disease known to man. Like every condition that like lessens us, we could get rid of. So that that's the implications of that, like in the long term.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the cost of this? Like financially, stuff like that.
It would cost a lot because making one is so hard. Like you'd have to pay the woman, you'd have to like putting the actual thing inside the cell, like take denucleating it, renucleating it. That's actually hard, and that is a very costly process. You'd have to go through thousands of tries over and over again, new tools, everything.
Just to clarify here, are we changing the actual gamete cells and their genetic code, or are we selecting from a different amount of gametes? Are we actually physically changing a gamete, or like a sperm cell and egg cell?
So pretty much what we're doing is we're just we're changing imagine there's like 20 dogs.
Okay.
And 19 of them have heart conditions. One of them is perfect in every way.
Okay.
So we take that dog, that gene, and we make sure that's the only one. We take out the other 19 dogs, so we have that perfect one.
Okay. So selectively choosing the best possible offspring.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that this was an expensive procedure, right? Don't you think this would lead to a bigger separation between rich and the poor? Give the advantages to the rich kids and disadvantage the poor kids?
Now that would be true, yes. That in the short term, yes. In the long term, I see this expanding out to everybody. If we did, like it would be baseline. Every kid is born this way. So pretty much the idea is, even if we did, let's say, okay, rich kids are like that. Oh, the parents could afford it, and poor kids were like that. Eventually, those rich kids are the only ones who would be perfect like that.
Okay.
Because eventually they breed out, and they breed with people with heart conditions, and then their kids would have heart conditions, all that. I'm just using heart conditions as an example, but there's other things. So it's just that for that one person. Then in the short term, it's only good for them. But in the long term, for everyone entirely, I see it being good. So yeah, so it just going to rich kids and poor kids, it doesn't really matter in the end because they just breed it back out.
Okay. So, I mean, there are other implications. I mean, for example, obviously we talked about rich and poor separation, but there are some people who might say, oh, if this was available to you and you don't do it, it's selfish, right? You don't want your kids to have the best possible stuff. But also some people, they might say, I don't like my child, right? I get to choose whatever I want. And then some people might say, oh, why do you want to select a child? Why do you just want to have a natural child? And the child didn't consent, things like that. So how would you bridge that gap?
Well, the thing is we're not like choosing between like race or something like that. Like we're not choosing, okay, the black kid. We're not choosing that. We're choosing, it's not like there's actually kids here. We're just taking genes out and removing them. Like we're taking out heart conditions. Like we're not We're not taking out, oh, he's Puerto Rican. Like, we're not doing that. It's like, oh, he doesn't have heart disease. Oh, he doesn't have diabetes. We're taking that out.
Wouldn't that affect other things in the genome though? To
Yes.
take out a specific gene.
Now, the thing is, though, it would take many subjects to actually get out the proper individual. So let's say I did remove, let's say, cancer. Maybe that would cause a genetic disorder. Okay, boom, he doesn't have cancer, but then he has diabetes from me removing the cancer. So I'd have to be very delicate with this, and it would take. This is why it's only good in the long term, because some of the subjects, yeah, they don't have cancer, but they have 10 other things that they got just from me tweaking their genes and messing with them. So, like, it's this iffy area. Should I have to give these people all these different conditions just for me taking out one?
So, you mentioned cancer and things like that. So, with progressive diseases like that, is it really a matter of taking out a gene that causes it? Since we, in all reality, we're still researching that, right?
We're still reading. There's a lot of gray area
So-
stuff we don't know. Yes.
Would people who experts in this field, would they be taking out that gene, or would they be maybe enhancing cancer fighting genes, for example? Something
Now that
like
could be another implication. Let's say you couldn't take out cancer, then what can we do to enhance the cancer fighting ones? That's exactly. That's amazing. Yes.
So, let's say. Well, for one question, where is the technology at right now? Like, what
It's
can
not
we
very
do?
good. We can do. It's been proven that you can do sheep. Dolly the sheep. You could do humans. You could. It would be much harder though to do. Because humans are more complex to do.
You mentioned Dolly the sheep, and I see you have it written down. My notes here. You mentioned Dolly the sheep a lot. Can you tell us the story behind that and like what's that implication? Of
Okay,
Dolly the
so
sheep?
Dolly the sheep, pretty much, they wanted to, clone. So what their idea was, they got a surrogate mother with another sheep, and they had Dolly. And pretty much what they did is they put in short term, they remove a nucleus from a cell. It's called enucleating, and it became a nucleated cell, and then they zap it, and they put one in, like a sex cell, I'm pretty sure. And so they zap it, and then put it inside a sheep, like a woman sheep, and they let it grow. And so like that's pretty much how it goes. Like the zapping is to shock it, to reset it. So yeah.
What's the impact of Dolly being cloned though?
Okay, now the impact of Dolly being cloned, the thing is, they made Dolly a different color from her mother. So this proves that you can tweak the genes. This proves that you can remove, so let's say the mother's white, boom, the kid's black, boom. Like you take that, oh, the mother has a heart cancer, boom, the kid doesn't. You know what I mean? It just proves that we can change them. Like in other studies, you can make animals glow in the dark.
Fluorescence.
Yeah, fluorescence like a cat. So pretty much there's a certain monkey, I forget the name, but it has a gene that helps fight AIDS.
So bioluminescence, scientists are able to tweak that.
Yeah, so
today.
I understand. Why would I need bioluminescence? That's not important. That's not the important part. What they did was very impressive. These animals, this monkey had AIDS fighting genes. You know AIDS, horrible virus. It kills AIDS. So what they did is they took that gene somehow, put it in the cat, but they didn't know if it worked. How would you know if you didn't have a heart condition until you got the heart condition?
That's a good point.
Or if it even worked at all and you just got lucky and you didn't have a heart condition.
That's a good point.
So how would you know? If you made the cat glow in the dark alongside that.
Mm.
So, it has to work because I put that gene right beside this one. Mm-hmm. It's glowing in the dark. Why isn't the AIDS one working? Exactly. You know what I mean? So it would show that. Or let's say I could improve your vision. Your family has had horrible vision your entire life. Boom. Okay? You have perfect 20/20 vision. And then alongside that, you can also remove the glow in the dark thing. You can remove that from the next subject when you breed it out. So yeah. And then you can keep the AIDS in there, like the AIDS fighting gene in there. So yeah.
So what is the impact of this? What is it impacting on technology and science as a whole? Because obviously it's very new technology, and from my understanding, Dolly the sheep, that was a very long experiment, right?
Yeah, long experience. It was a long time ago. A lot of things have changed. In my opinion, what it could do is it could lengthen human life as we know it. When people die to heart attacks most of the time, not just heart attacks, like from like they're just body failing, organ failures.
Now, wouldn't this have an issue on many certain issues like maybe hospitals or obviously medication, things like that? Food supply would be an issue if human lives were a lot longer than they significantly are.
Yes, but the thing is, at that point, like, people have already been dying of hunger, and the people who will have access to this initially won't even have that problem. It's just that eventually, you know what I mean? Like, we're tackling this problem alongside, we're taking all these conditions, but the people who are getting that treatment, why wouldn't they already be getting food as well? I understand, like, right now, people probably be going like that, oh, they die of hunger and all that later, who cares? But as long as we just remove like these conditions and all that that come with it, then like eventually, like what I'm trying to say is in the future when this is all fleshed out, why wouldn't we have food for everybody? You know what I mean? Like I understand now, you know what I mean? But in the future, like 2050, 2040, something like that, we could have food crisis. I understand for people living longer, but also why, like how? Like we could figure the food crisis out. It's what, 2025? We have what, 15 years? I just like to say it's like just because now we have a food problem doesn't mean later we won't combat that problem. Like we're cloning people. Like we could clone foods and all that.
Yeah, I mean, some people might say that this is sort of a slippery slope. I mean, initially you're talking about just removing diseases and just extending human life, but some people, they might go extreme with it. They might say, okay, I want to modify height, I want to modify muscle mass, I want to modify things like that, eye color. So wouldn't that lead to some issue? Wouldn't everyone look the same essentially?
No, the thing is though, we're just taking out conditions. We're not taking out like characteristics. Like, let's say you wanted your kid to be 6'2".
But do you think that it would eventually lead to that?
It could, yeah. It could very much definitely lead to that.
So I have a question for you personally, Dr. Omar. Should governments and organizations and things like that get ahead of it and try and maybe regulate it, maybe prevent exploitation?
Yeah, that's why I think it should be banned, because I feel like it shouldn't be exploited. I think it should be to all people, but within the risks. Because I'd feel horrible if we had 277 people with all these different conditions that we gave them just because they're test subjects. You know what I mean? There's just people who grow up with horrible things. So that's what I'm saying. It should be banned, but on the other end, it's also a good thing. It's like there's both the good and the bad. Because then I wouldn't want the government to just give it to certain people. I want everybody to have it, and everybody to have, in the end, like everybody to have this beautiful thing where everyone's perfect. But it's also, in my opinion, it could have to be banned because, to do this, you'd have to. There's so many different conditions in the human body you wouldn't even understand. Like it is thousands of conditions, millions of test subjects. You'd say it will only be beneficial in the long term. And I do not think people are mature enough to deal with that. Maybe for animals that's okay, but for people, like these are living, breathing, thinking people who have lives and experiences. Like I wouldn't want to shorten a kid's life down to like 20 years life expectancy just because we messed up on his.
So yeah, I was gonna get on this topic. So let's assume that 10, 20 years down the line, this is possible, right? What do you predict is the life expectancy for these individuals, these subjects? How would they live their life? Or would they live it better? Are they going to live it worse?
Now the thing is, if we did it properly, they'd live their life better. They wouldn't have to take medications for allergies or like heart meds. Like angina would be removed. That's a heart condition. You could remove angina. People wouldn't have to take angina pills. Diabetes would be removed. People would have to stop taking insulin. You know how expensive insulin is? Imagine that if we stopped spending money on insulin and put that money into food, that would be amazing. And imagine hospitals would only be getting, like cancer treatment is so expensive. Like I understand, like we're not paying it, but the hospital's paying that money. So imagine if that money went to other things, like for example, food drives, all these different things, like charities, helping people who are in lesser circumstances than us. You know, that money would be showing out to them instead of to our medical bills. Sure, I can't stop broken bones, but I can't engineer that out. So it's just these things that like genetically you could get. So let's say concussions. I couldn't engineer out concussions, but I could engineer in I could engineer in what are they called? Alpha proteins. Like they remove the alpha proteins. It's when you get a concussion, you get alpha proteins or something like that. So you could engineer that out where you wouldn't make alpha proteins.
On this topic here, right? When you say you're specifically coding for something.
Mm-hmm.
One is it's pretty. I assume it's very difficult.
Very
to
difficult.
code for a specific gene,
Mhm.
since obviously
That's why you have to put in that. And even then, if you even thought you did get the specific gene, you'd have to find out later on, like 10, 20 years down the line, or
And-
something like that. So that's why you have to put the night vision thing in.
circling back to my previous point about like kind of tailor making children, right? Wouldn't some parent, like, obviously, if this technology becomes available, obviously wealthier people are going to have this first, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't you think that people in wealthier families would tailor make children? So let's say
They'd look perfect. That's what you're
they
saying?
look perfect, and then maybe they've always wanted, they'd make a perfect athlete, they'd make a perfect musician, they'd make a perfect. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
So
understand what you're saying.
They can make their son maybe expected to go
Like a Hercules, that's what you're saying.
Sure. Sure.
And the thing is, at the start, it wouldn't be like that because what rich person wouldn't want to hit or miss on their child? Because I wouldn't like to say that it kind of is a coin flip with this.
Mhm.
You're doing these things. It's just the starting stages. It would have to be fleshed out. Like, what do you call it when you have multiple sciences agreeing on one thing? Critical what? Critical theory or something like that. Like everyone's agreeing. I'm the doctor asking these questions. It's like they're talking about like critical analysis, something like that. Like it's just so you get the information.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I can't just say, oh yeah, we can do this for you to a rich person. They spend like 20 mil on a kid. And, like the kid comes out with like multiple like mutations. You know what I mean? Like it would take like years to fully flesh it out and then for it to go to the market. So yeah.
I see.
Because sure, yeah, it would hit rich. It would go like this: test subjects, couple years; rich people, couple years, maybe even longer, and then actual
Into
base
the market.
average person. It would go.
But again, that would separate the divide.
It would
There's
separate the
there's-
divide.
There's already a big divide between the rich and the poor. Wouldn't that be another?
A genetic factor making
yes.
it. Oh, we're built better than you. Like I
Exactly.
understand that. Yeah.
Wouldn't that lead to some discrimination? Though, you think?
It would lead to some discrimination, but the all discrimination leads away people. So it would be the same with clones. Eventually, no one
Well,
would care.
but
Everyone
what
would
do
be
you-
a
what-
clone.
Just to touch back on the subject,
Mhm.
doctor. I mean, wouldn't you want no oppression at all if you could avoid that?
I would love no oppression at all.
So why don't governments and organizations and like people, again, experts like you, they get on ahead of this
Mhm.
so we can tackle it before it becomes an issue.
Yeah, exactly. So what is like the thing is, okay, for example, like racism in schools, it's not allowed. You're not allowed to be racist to other people no matter what.
True.
So the same thing with clones. You couldn't be racist to a clone. Like if I go into school and say racial slurs, it's not allowed.
Well,
And I understand,
well,
like, oh, in the
it's
workplace
not-
it would be discriminated against. Oh, other places, like, oh, it's not
Doctor,
fair. He was
doctor.
made like this.
it's not a yes or no thing. I mean, discrimination exists outside
In
of
every
institutions.
facet of
Exactly.
society, yeah.
So, as an expert, what do you think the governments, organizations, institutions should do to, if this technology does become available, right, in the next 10 years or so, to get ahead of this, to tackle it?
Mhm. I'd say, like, it wouldn't be for sure. Like, I couldn't say, like, in my professional opinion, don't let these, like, clones grow up different lives than the normal kids. Put them in the same schools as kids who aren't cloned. So they grow up alongside you. Like, if a kid grows up alongside black people, he's not going to be racist to them because he just sees them as
wouldn't
his
there be
people.
pushback from parents saying, "Oh, I don't want my son to capture a disease, like unknown disease, stuff like that"?
The thing is, though, that's just ignorance. That's just ignorance. in
Well,
my
you
opinion.
can't really stop ignorance in people.
Yes.
You can't stop it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I can't. Sorry, got cut off. So in conclusion, clones are, well, they could be discriminated against in our society, and not just that, even if we were to do it, it would take thousands upon thousands, maybe even 100,000s, maybe even millions of people to get the outcome we want. And that's just human suffering we don't need. And yeah, and even if we did do it, people are ignorant and they would find a way to discriminate against them. And life expectancy of these clones wouldn't be so good. Millions of them just dying at the age of 13 isn't amazing, or having horrible life defects until they die. It's just not right to subject people to that. So yeah, sorry for being cut off in the video. And you had someone at the door that really mad. can't really go into that.